Alright, Mahi versus Russian Mafia, J-Swag and Baywak versus Leaf and Naive. Let's see if Russian Mafia can do better than yesterday and come up with a surprise here. It was good, but they wanted to update it, and then update basically ruined it. So same as Royal, same as Ice, and a bunch of other stuff. Noted. I am not surprised. I'm on the wrong scene. And we are off. First round of Reunion, and Baywak has already clipped the checkpoint in the start, so he's gonna be a bit behind, as Leaf has also made a small mistake. He is now fighting with Baywak for the third place, and we've got J-Swag versus Naive up front. Both going through the wood section nicely, surviving a little PF ice section, coming into the Icy Wheels Drift, doing it around the same. So now Naive takes over the lead, and we are looking at a draw right now. However, J-Swag with a much better turn, risks over the edge, and risks too much even. Flips over, he will have to respawn, so this is down to Baywak to keep that second place and prevent the ace from Russian Mafia. Let's see, Baywak has come a bit closer, has a nice lead over Leaf. That's all he needs right now. He does not need to get first here, because I'm pretty sure he would happily take a loss, just as long as it's not an ace. Trying his best though, but he will have to settle for second. And that is a victory for Russian Mafia in round number 1. After J-Swag flips over in the reactor up section.
Victory.
As sometimes happens, if you risk too much over the gap and you don't stabilize immediately, it's a risk-reward thing. You can gain over 0.1 if you do it well, which is what you can see in the world record on this map. But if you don't do it properly, then you just flip over and your round is done. So once again, we've got cars separated 2v2, but this time it's teammates playing together instead of 1v1s between different teams. Leaf, however, trying his best to catch up to Mahi, who are holding strong, but then J-Swag with another mistake and again flips over. So all the pressure on his teammates' shoulders. Baywak again has a nice lead, so he should be able to keep this. Navigates his way through the drift, no problem there. Is over half a second ahead, so he should be able to stay in first. J-Swag has no chance to catch up, unless one of the Russians also has to respawn. Leaf drops the gear, but that's not really an issue in this situation. And they will be able to secure another draw. Right now 3-2 for Russian Mafia. Kami shows Mahi's logo instead of their flags because they have a logo. I would assume Russian Mafia simply don't have a logo. As you can see up top, the logo would have been displayed here. This is just the default picture. Let's say the default logo, if you don't have one. If they also had a logo, it would be here. I don't know, that's not a question for me. It should have been there as well, if you had a logo. So, round number 3, and Mahi looking good. This time, Leaf makes a pretty big mistake. As does Baywak, however, he will manage to stay in third, but it's all about what J-Swag does here. Can he survive? And he goes around the gap this time, very smart. This is a match where he doesn't have to risk that much. So there's absolutely no need to even try to gain that 0.1. He can win the round anyway, as he's doing right now. Doing really well in first. Naive cannot really catch up. Baywak is in third. Keeps the gear, but then misses the road completely, and that will allow Leaf to overtake him. And we're looking at another draw. This is definitely not the start Mahi was looking for.
Draw.
So far, every round, one of their players having to respawn. They just cannot finish the round together. Russian Mafia is still leading by 1 point, even though they themselves are not playing that well. And this has been a very slow start to the match. None of the players looking particularly strong. With Baywek once again in first, who's before the previous round been probably the most solid player. However, he's also shown there's a chink in his armor. And as usual, Mahi in top 2. Another mistake here from Russian Mafia. Now both of them are quite far behind. Do Mahi know they're so far ahead? And look at Baywek risking it over the gap. He does not care whatsoever. But it does work out for him. Naive respawns. Leaf is almost 2 seconds behind, and surely this is going to be an ace for Mahi. If they know they have 2 seconds, they will definitely save it. It's perfectly fine to drop the gear here if you need to. And they finally make it in with 2 quite solid times. If they consistently drive these sort of times, they're gonna win this quite comfortably. And that is the first ace of the match. Mahi finally stepping it up. Now this is a Mahi's pick. The next 2 maps will be Russian Mafia's picks. With J-Swag, a small mistake in the start, but that's no problem. He can easily come back from a 0.2 deficit. We finally see a stronger start from Russian Mafia, who are right now in the top 2, looking to strike back with an ace of their own. J-Swag is coming back, trying to come closer. Drifts much better than Naive, and is able to catch up. Naive with a big mistake. Will have to respawn because he has no speed there from that. If he chooses not to respawn, he's just gonna keep losing further. And the J-Swag all the way up to first with his teammate in third. Can definitely catch up to second, and we might be looking at another Mahi ace here. See, this is gonna be Baywek versus Leaf for second. Baywek with a slightly better line. Keeps the gear, has more speed, goes further inside. Gets the reactor quicker, overtakes for second, very inside line, and he does do it. J-Swag with another 0.6, Baywek with a nice comeback for second, and that is a 9-4. Great spot for Mahi to be in, and this could all be over. Russian Mafia, 2 aces or nothing. They have nothing to lose at this point. They have to go for it. But the problem is, if J-Swag just survives, he seems to be too quick for them. As Leaf is already behind, and this might be over. Mahi do not have to beat both of them. As long as they're in front of just one player, this is over. And right now, the gap is over half a second to Leaf. So it's looking great for Mahi. J-Swag still holding strong. Avoids the gap completely. Naive respawns, and this should be it. They should be aware of the situation. A little bit of lag there. Maybe that is the only way the Russians can come back if both Mahi players get disconnected. J-Swag doing a great job. No problems anywhere. He has 6 seconds, so this should be easy for him to close out. Manages to keep the gear even, goes tight, and this is a pretty good round. 107.4. By far the quickest round we've seen, even though he didn't even need to drive it. But that is it. 3rd ace in a row, and the Mahi win map 1 quite convincingly after a bit of a slow start. So Mahi are very strong on Reunion, but they also rely a lot on J-Swag's pace there. Seems like Baywek can be quite consistent, but he's around half a second slower than J-Swag. So if J-Swag risks too much and flips over, like he did in the first 2 rounds, they're in big trouble there. So moving on to Ellipse, which is the Russian Mafia's first pick. It's the same map they picked yesterday, so let's see if they can do better today. J-Swag there with an interesting tap to the left. I'm not really sure that helps, but if that's what is practiced, then so be it. As we see, a bit of a slower start there from Naive. Manages to come back though on the plastic bit. Still super close, nobody has touched, and as I say that Baywek does exactly that. Cannot keep the gear then and is really slow, so this is a very strong start for Russian Mafia, with only J-Swag may be able to come back from this deficit. The Russians looking really strong, driving together in first. Even their checkpoints are exactly the same. They're doing amazingly well so far in round 1. J-Swag trying his best, but that's a full stop, and that should be an ace for Russian Mafia. What a great opportunity for them to show just how good they are on this map. And Leaf a bit slower there, but that's no problem. Can still make it over the bar. They have almost 2 seconds. This should be no problem. And they get their first ace of the match. Can they strike back with an ellipse win straight away? Mahi did not look good there. Even before the big mistakes, they were a bit off pace-wise. So once again, solid start by everyone. Just important not to clip anywhere. If you're like 0.1 behind, you can easily catch up on this map. Just make sure you do not crash. And now Leaf way too inside. Clips his wheels and they will be out of the round. So it's up to Naive here to hold strong in at least second. Make sure they don't get aced back, which is exactly what happened yesterday. Once they aced, they got aced back immediately and just crumbled after. This time, however, Naive is doing great. He's still holding on to that first place and even creating a bigger gap. So it's looking pretty good for Russian Mafia. I'm sure they would happily take a draw here. Baywek is trying his best to come back. Let's see what happens in the bug slide section. Baywek much better than Naive and will come much closer here to actually have a contest in the end. Naive around the 0.1 ahead. Baywek coming closer with a tighter line. But it's not gonna be enough as long as Naive can make it, and he does. The time is not the fastest, but it looks like Russian Mafia doesn't have to be that fast here. Mahi not really showing up on this map. And that's a 4-1 lead now for Russian Mafia. Naive doing really well. Let's see, we've got a small mistake in the start. Seems like it was exactly Naive, but then J-Swag touches. We've once again got two 1v1s. Up front, Leaf versus Baywek. J-Swag is in last, so it's gonna be quite difficult for Mahi to start a comeback here. And both of them are completely in the mud. Baywek out of the round, and J-Swag has a big gap that he needs to overcome. Goes nice and tight once again, but then crashes, which isn't the worst thing there, but once you're behind already, it really doesn't help. And it's looking like another ace for Russian Mafia. Could this be an absolute stomp on Ellipse? That seems good enough because J-Swag got it even worse. Leaf far ahead in first. They just gotta avoid crashing here, as they do. And that's it. 0.6s seem to be more than enough. 7-1 for Russian Mafia, and at this point, it's fine even if they get losses. They just cannot afford to get aced. 3 losses would get them over the line. So Mahi in huge trouble here, as is Leaf in this round. Clips there on the left. Baywek barely survives. I swear half of the wheel was off the track. Then Leaf with a huge mistake will be over a second behind. It's up to Naive right now, who has been really strong on this map. He's been in the top 2 every single round, And it seems like Mahi just don't have an answer for his pace on this map. They're trying hard, both of them, still without a mistake, but they're losing on pace. And as I say that, Naive touches there in the no-break section. J-Swag giving him an opening maybe to come back. This is the crucial fight for second place. If Mahi can get an ace here, they can definitely pull themselves back in. Bad boxlight exit for both of these players, and Naive cannot even make it over the bar. So this is looking like an ace for Mahi, and they might be back in. Very sloppy round from Russian Mafia, allowing Mahi to pull themselves back into the contention for Ellipse. Seems like it's not over yet. J-Swag again with the weird steering in the start. It's something he needs to clean up on this map. But we saw Leaf with another mistake, and Russian Mafia are crumbling a bit. They got to that track point, and since then it's been looking very sloppy. So a lot of pressure again on Naive's shoulders. He needs to stay in first or second at least. Gotta make sure they don't get aced again. Right now he has both Mahi players on his back. Given overtakes for first. J-Swag trying to do the same. It's so close here for first. Naive much better through the reactor section. Avoids the mistake in the no brakes part. He is up in first, has quite a nice lead. Bayback has dropped quite far behind here. All of them with good bug slides. However, J-Swag more exit speed. He is lagging a bit again. Coming closer to Naive, who's trying his best to stay in first. A draw would be amazing for them right now. But J-Swag with more speed, and J-Swag overtakes just in the end. 8-6 for Russian Mafia. Crazy ending there, but J-Swag was just able to go a bit tighter and risk a bit more. Now Naive with a small mistake in the start, clips a little bit, doesn't matter that much. He can definitely come back from this. As a Leaf seems to be crumbling yet again. Mahi has top 2. It's looking great for them. Can they get another ace and take control of this map? Still in first. Both of them get the gear, unlike Russian Mafia, who are struggling quite a bit. Baywek avoiding crashing there, but then crashes into the checkpoint. Seems like he's really struggling there in the fragile section. Leaving J-Swag all alone in first, and now Russians need someone to step up. Can someone be the hero and win the round, which would give them the victory? It's not gonna be Naive who clips. So it's up to Leaf here, who crashes fully and allows Baywek to overtake him. So all of a sudden it's up to Naive here to make sure they don't even get aced, because J-Swag is definitely gonna get first. Naive crashes, and this is looking at 9-8 from Mahi. Complete capitulation there. Baywek has to go around, concedes second to Naive. And that's gonna be 9-8 for Russian Mafia. What a round in the end. I'm pretty sure Baywek could have still made it, but he opted not to risk. Putting Mahi in a position where they can force overtime with a victory. So let's see, really important round. Leaf first clips, doesn't get punished, but then full crashes. And once again, it is up to Naive. Leaf has simply been putting too much pressure on Naive every single round. Since they've gone up to 7-1, everything has been on Naive's shoulders. And it looks like he might just get them over the line, because J-Swag has crashed. We also saw Baywek clip a little bit, so Naive has almost 0.8 to work with. If he can win the round, this will be a map for Russian Mafia after all of the chaos we've witnessed. So it's all about what Naive does. Can he hold on, and can he handle the pressure here? He's already losing a lot. He has clipped, allows Baywek to overtake him. Where is J-Swag? If J-Swag can get second here, it's all over. Oh, that's very wide for Naive. J-Swag trying his best. I think he has a better line. J-Swag risking, and it's an equal. Who guessed this? It looks like Naive has just managed to secure overtime. 1,000 away for Mahi to win the map. And when it looked like Russian Mafia could take it, in the end they barely held on to survive and force overtime. Naive once again in first, Leave once again in last. Naive definitely needs Leave to step up here if they're gonna have a chance. It looks like he cannot do it on his own. And J-Swag struggling a lot, cannot even start the box slide, so he is gonna be quite far behind here. It's all up to Baywek now. And we see Leaf in first. Can Leaf finally deliver? Can he have a clean round with Naive 0.8 behind J-Swag with the same gap to Naive? They're gonna be out of this. So right now looking good for Russian Mafia, but they've shown they're quite weak in the second half of the map, making loads and loads of mistakes while being in good positions. So far still looking good for them. This is the crucial section. Now everyone survives the box slide section. Leaf is in first. Let's see if he can make it happen this time. Survives around the reactor grass. He will make it. Naive makes it in third, and Russian Mafia win it after barely surviving the previous round. Saved by an equal, and then they finally get the job done. They were completely dominant on this map in the beginning, started to fall apart out of nowhere, and then in the end pulled themselves together and managed to get over the line. So we are on a 1-1 map score line. And this is a really exciting match. Mahi looking quite weak on Ellipse. Let's see who can take control of Limbo straight away. This could be a really important map because whoever wins this will be on a match point on the following map. And as we know, Limbo is probably the most chaotic map. Anything can happen here until the very last second. So let's see who is gonna handle fast driving and lots of momentum better. All of them get through the start. Baywek is in first, doing a great job. J-Swag a bit behind, but no problem here. It's usually the second half of the map where all chaos happens. And so far, no mistakes. As I stated, of course, it's Naive right into the wall, leaving Leaf alone against the two Mahi players. Baywek still holding strong, but then concedes first to Leaf, and even J-Swag is able to come back. Now let's see this turnaround. J-Swag with a huge mistake, and he has a terrible respawn here. Has to go really wide and manages to get the reactor at least. And we see everything flip around here. With Leaf all of a sudden in first, with Baywek in second, looking like a victory for Russian Mafia, but can they all make the jump? Let's see what strategy they all go for. They're going for the low jump. Both of them die. Leaf has managed to respawn quicker, but no, J-Swag out of nowhere wins the round. He was dead last. Everything flips around. And J-Swag, after double respawn before the turnaround, wins the round. And it's a victory for Mahi in the end. After so many mistakes. And as predicted, it's always the second half of this map. It's always the turnaround and everything that happens later. And now it's Baywek with a slower start, but that's a massive mistake there from Leaf. He is completely out. But then again, after what we witnessed, maybe Leaf can still win the round. That is another respawn by Leaf. Baywek cannot even start the drift, leaving Naive and J-Swag all alone up front. Let's see if a J-Swag can navigate this section better than in the previous round. Doesn't crash. Can he get the reactor? Barely does. So we've got J-Swag versus Naive here for first. And both survive. Naive with a much better line will be in a better position here. Still really close. Can they both make it? It's looking like another victory for Mahi. They both jump high enough. And that's it. We actually had a clean round. That was pretty close. With only Leaf respawning this time. 4-2 for Mahi. A much better round. 107 low is sometimes good enough, even like top level matches. So J-Swag showing that he knows what he's doing here. And once again, Baywek, who seems to always have the best start. But then something goes wrong for him later on. As Leaf is just a bit behind. Didn't have to respawn. And then Naive full crashes. Giving Mahi a great opportunity here to take full control of the match with an ace, because Leaf has also made a mistake in the no breaks section. So Mahi can drive pretty safe, although that's easier said than done on this map. They get the reactor, and now can they make their way through the Bob section here? J-Swag a bit slow, will need to jump higher, as he does. No problem there. Both of them can even drive around. In the end, they do not have to jump if they don't want to, but they do. They both elect to jump high, and that's gonna be good enough. This time Baywek with a low 107, which is pretty solid. No problem saving their way to the finish, and it's a 7-2. Looks like this is going heavily into Mahi's favor. This was, by the way, Russian Mafia's second pick. So if Mahi win this, they will go on to match point on their second pick, which was Ascension. As we see a slower start from Naive here. Actually, pretty big mistake already. Leaving Leaf alone against the two Mahi players who are able to maybe even close it out in this round. All they need is an ace against the Leaf, who has been quite inconsistent so far in the match. And he just demonstrates why. Full crashes into the wall, and Mahi have the win in their hands. Oh, Baywek struggling here. He will not have the speed. He decides not to go for the reactor, and as we know from yesterday, that is a terrible decision. Look at how bad this is now. It's really hard to survive throughout all of this. And he loses 3 seconds just because he didn't drive backwards for a second. Which leaves a Naive in first and the J-Swag in second. Baywek really lucky here that Leaf has completely crumbled and is 17 seconds behind. So in the end, Mahi will be happy with this, of course. They're okay with a draw. They can just draw it out until the end. They need 2 more. Of course, they would absolutely take anything that's not an ace against them. So the pressure really is on Russian Mafia here, because they need both of their players to perform. If one completely dies like Leaf in the previous round, there is absolutely nothing the other one can do. They need at least one ace to pull themselves back in. J-Swag giving them that opportunity this round. Is a bit behind. Will have to release even more because he had a really bad angle. Struggling through the drift, but Leaf is struggling even more, and Naive full crashes there. I've never seen that before. Leaving Baywek all alone in first. J-Swag up to second. Baywek manages to get the reactor. Leaf is trying his best, but it's not enough. And then J-Swag with a crash. He does not have the speed for this. Has to use this horrible respawn, which is really difficult to execute. So it's up to Baywek really to get the draw here. He will go for the high jump, barely avoids the scaffolding, which will be enough. It will be 9 points for Mahi if a Leaf can just finish, which he will. Barely. And 1 by 1. Mahi are coming closer and closer to winning this map. Track point here for Mahi, looking really good in the start. As Leaf is a bit behind, Russian Mafia, of course, have to ace twice. They have no other choice. And that is going to be really slow for Leaf. He's going to be lacking so much speed over this entire section, which means he's going to keep losing more and more until the drift here. Mahi only need one player to finish in front of him. So they're in a very, very strong position. Let's see if J-Swag can make it this time. Gets the reactor, no problem. The whole assignment is just stay in front of Leaf. It does not matter what Naive does. Who is driving really high there on the bob. Let's see if Baywak can get them over the line. He can go safe if he wants to. He probably won't. Goes for the low jump, manages to make it, and that is track number 2 for Mahi with an ace and the best time we've seen this match. Drives a 106.99. Great job there by Baywak, who I think played really well on this map. There was only one weak round from him, but other than that, he really kept them in the game. Also drove quite a few low 107s. So that's something to remember for their potential match against Jetlag. However, first they gotta get it done on Ascension, which is their second pick. So they probably feel more comfortable here than on Sunburn. This is a map we haven't seen that much of yesterday. I think the maps we watched the most were Ellipse and Reunion, with Sunburn and Ascension not really featuring. So let's see what the players can show here. And we know that Baywak and J-Swag have extremely strong PBs. On the public leaderboard, they are 2nd and 3rd. So we know they have the pace here, but do they have the consistency? Why is there so much water on these maps? That is a great question, and that's just the new mapping meta, where everything is congested together and there's water everywhere. Every map these days is a water map. Looks like we have a strong start from everyone, no mistakes whatsoever, and now the crucial wood turn. Everyone's surviving. Leaf just a bit slower, but that's fine. He can come back, no problem, as long as he doesn't crash. Decides to drift there, which is a strategy that doesn't really work out in most cases. If you do it well, you gain barely anything, and if you mess up, you're out of the round, so I don't think that's really worth it. As we see, Baywak also drop a bit behind. His teammate, however, is in first, and Naive makes a mistake, allowing Mahi to potentially get an ace here. Baywak doing the ice part better than Leaf. Can they just make the jumps? They do both, and that is a very strong start for Mahi. 107 low by J-Swag is a strong start. I'm not sure Russian Mafia will be able to deal with times like that if they're driven on a consistent basis. But can J-Swag keep it up? That is the ultimate question. Nobody crashes. Leaf with a very strange line here will lose quite a lot because he went too tight in the reactor section, and then Naive is fully out. Russian Mafia are crumbling here, leaving Mahi again in a dominant position to get another ace. Leaf once again with the drift, and this is exactly what I mean. The drift won't help you if you cannot make the jump. And right now, Mahi should be able to get another ace. They have a massive lead. This map is not the easiest to save if you have a lead of a few tenths. But if you are over a second ahead, then this is completely free. There is nowhere you can really get wiped out, as long as you know you've got the gap to work with. And you can see J-Swag going safe, very smart. This is a very, very smart decision, because if anything is gonna go wrong, it might be that jump onto the final platform. So J-Swag recognizes the situation and decides to go safe. Meaning they are now 6-0 up. And this is looking like despair for Russian Mafia, who simply cannot get anything going on Ascension. Mahi looking to close this out as quick as possible. Good start there for J-Swag. Let's see if Naive can finally survive this section. He manages to do so, but his teammate is really far behind, and they desperately need an ace. And now both of them are at the back. Leaf decides not to drift. Smart decision, but they're both over a second behind. Bayback very close to clipping the hole on the right as we see Naive respawn, so this could be 9-0. Yep, no problem for either Mahi player. Naive is completely out with another respawn. J-Swag very safe on the ice part. Bayback clips, but he might be far ahead enough still. Yep, jumps very safe. Make sure he gets enough airtime to make it onto the platform. And that is 9-0 on Ascension. Mahi needing just one more point, and the way Russian Mafia has been playing this map, I simply do not see a comeback happening. Both players seem unable to even finish a clean round, let alone finish it quicker than Mahi players. So now it's really all or nothing. 3 aces or they're out. Let's see if they can mount the biggest comeback we've probably ever seen, given how they've played so far on Ascension. That is J-Swag out. Is this the start of the comeback? All down to Baywick now. Leaf is struggling a lot, however. That's a respawn for Baywick as well, who cannot make the jump. What is happening? Mahi are 1 point away from making it to the next round. And they both completely died in this round. Leaf struggling. Can J-Swag even come back after a respawn? Looks like he can. This is unbelievable. Leaf clipping everything he can possibly clip to allow J-Swag to close it out. He goes very wide. He's still in second somehow. That is a terrible line. And he throws, and somehow Russian Mafia win this round with an ace. Unbelievable turn of events with throws left, right, and center. In the end, it's Mahi who managed to throw more than Russian Mafia. Can Mahi do this 2 more times? Because it seems like both Leaf and the Mahi players were trying really hard to make sure the other side wins. Baywick with an early mistake. We haven't seen that one. It's a mistake from Leaf, however, it's not as costly. Unlike this one, Baywick with a million respawns, Leaf with a respawn. What is happening here? This is not how you prepare to play against Jetlag. They're both really trying their best not to play against Jetlag. I mean, maybe that's the play. Maybe they just want to go to the lower bracket to get one more match in. Right now, all up to J-Swag because Baywack is in last, but then Naive respawns. There's respawns everywhere. Let's see. J-Swag crashes. It's not that bad. Baywack not in last anymore. But we're still focused on J-Swag because he's the one who matters here. Can he recognize that he should go to the right? He doesn't, but he actually makes the jump this time. And we are done with this match. Mahi finally able to win. After very, very chaotic 2 rounds. And this is something to remember. If this is how they're playing when they have a match point against Russian Mafia, then what can we expect from them if they're in a similar situation against Jetlag? I don't think I Neo anything here. So you don't have to do it. Hey Spider. SRK said in June. Good evening. I don't have it on this scene, sorry. Yeah, I don't Neo here at all. didn't find it necessary. So here we go. Jetlag versus Mahi in the winner bracket final. Whoever wins this goes to the grand final. Let's see what a Jetlag can show. And let's see if a Mahi can do much better than they did in the previous match, as Baywak is already out here, leaving it all up to J-Swag. And look at the gap already. It's over 0.3. Jetlag looking really strong. They're both driving together. J-Swag trying to catch up, and that's a mistake there by Bren, allowing J-Swag to go up to second. Bren also with a very weak drift drops the gear and is not able to come any closer, so this is up to Mada here to hold on to first. J-Swag, from what we know, doesn't really have the pace on this map, so Mada should be in the clear. Maybe J-Swag's best option here is just to try to stay in second and not allow Bren to secure the ace for Jetlag. He is still lagging a little bit. Hopefully his connection will hold up as Mada makes his way into the finish. J-Swag in second. That is a really, really good match time. If this is what Jetlag will be driving, then I think Mahi might be finished here. Again, J-Swag with that little left tap, which always makes it more difficult to him to make the turn. Allowing Jetlag to get into top 2 very early on. Very, very strong start by both players. Bren, look how far ahead he is. Can he avoid the mistake this time around? Mada with a very poor bug slide, allowing the Mahi players to catch up. Bren does the Neo still. Doesn't let round 1 phase him at all. Mada dropping the gear, but still manages to stay ahead of Baywak and J-Swag. All of them around 0.7 behind Bren, who is on a really, really good run. Mada dropping down has clipped, allowing J-Swag and Baywak to maybe get the draw at least in this round. And so far, Mahi not showing up on this map, but neither are Jetlag, with one of their players always crashing. Allowing Mahi to stay in the map still. And that is another 0.1 from a Jetlag player. Both Mahi players far behind. It's quite clear they cannot really keep up with the pace. So if Jetlag can just stop crashing, they would be in an amazing position to take this map. Again, Bren really strong start, and the exact opposite for J-Swag here with an early crash. It's quite difficult to spectate him because of all the lags. Mada in third, fighting with Baywak for second. Gets a better box slide this time around, trying to go up to second to secure the ace and really pull away from Mahi. Bren with a 0.5 in that checkpoint, which is really, really good. Pretty much a world record pace, assuming he gets an insane second half. But then clips, and once again, one of the Jetlag players in the mud, with Mada overtaking for first. And both Mahi players in second and third, trying to at least get the draw. And they're actually doing quite well here, just taking advantage of the mistakes. As I say that, of course, Baywak respawns, but he's still fine. He's still ahead of Bren. Leaving Mada all alone in first. Can he just get it done? Looks like he will. Only 0.6 this time. Maybe this was the opening that Mahi would have needed. So far, 2 mistakes from Bren, 1 mistake from Mada, and they cannot pull away from Mahi. At 30.4. Yeah, that is, for a match, that is crazy. You're really looking at 0.5, what's really good, and 0.6, what's maybe the average in top level matches. 0.4 is an insane start, or insane first half of the map rather, with a Baywak a bit slower. Both the Jetlag players in 1 and 2, trying to finally finish a round together and get to the elusive ace. Let's see Brand drifting around, and this is it. The double 0.6. Very, very difficult to play against this. But can they just finish it off? Brand a lot tighter this time. Much better executed than the previous round. Manages to get around. Mada so close there on the right. And their pace is just too much for Mahi. Mahi cannot really keep up. So Jetlag just trying to survive. Brand there going very wide, but that's much better than crashing and wiping out. Look at this. Look at how close they are. Driving together like proper teammates. And nicely done by both of them. Within 2000s, and that's a double 0.0. No chance for Mahi whatsoever. That's a round that would beat most teams out there. That is a really, really, really difficult to contest. And Jetlag really showing what they've got. But as we've seen so far, this is probably Mahi's weakest map. So we shouldn't draw too many conclusions from this. Maybe Mahi are just trying to get this over and done with, so they can play maps that are maybe suited better for them. Let's see, maybe they can mount an unlikely comeback, however. Brand again with a 0.5. His starts are just immaculate. No problems on the reactor section. Brand still in first, although has dropped a bit compared to Baywak. This is Mahi's probably the best round so far, pace-wise, as they're trying to at least get a draw here. With Mada dropping a bit after that box slide section. Brand is still in first, so no problem here for Mada. They're trying to attack Brand here, but Brand manages to hold on, doesn't crash. And that's 110-9, and look at this round. This is the best round we've seen so far on Ellipse all tournament. Really strong by both teams, but when Brand drives a 110, what can Mahi really do? But right after that, Brand, like he's playing Cup of the Day, you know when you win a round with a PB, you have to crash the next round. And Brand is struggling a little bit. However, he's so fast that he can definitely catch up even with that mistake. J-Swag clipping there, so it's only Baywak really, but they don't even need an ace. They just need to win this. With the J-Swag being completely out of the round, 1.6 is highly unlikely to be caught up on Ellipse. So if Mada can just secure first here, doesn't really matter what Brand does as long as he doesn't respawn or full stop. He is trying, however, to overtake for second. Fighting with Baywak still, who can get the better box slide here. Oh, that's so nicely done by Brand. Even goes over the gap on the inside. That is the best possible line you can take there. J-Swag with another respawn. Not that it matters. Brand clips a bit, but it doesn't really matter as long as Mada can finish this, which he does. 111-0 again. Really strong showing there by Jetlag, and I think no matter what Mahi did, they were losing this anyway. Because Jetlag had at least one player with a 0.1 or a better time each round. And we saw J-Swag saying that he almost PB'd. So you know they just don't have the pace on this to contest Jetlag. Quite dominant, map 1. But to be honest, that's what we expected. That was Mahi's worst map, based on what we've seen. And might have been Jetlag's best map from what we know. So Mada, as usual, doesn't do anything in the warm-up. Some players like to drive the warm-up, some players like to just rest a bit. It's all a personal preference. So let's see if Mahi can strike back. They looked really good in the beginning of this map in the previous match, but then completely crumbled later on when they were at match point. So let's see if they can handle the pressure a bit better this time, as they get a slower start than the Jetlag duo. Already behind, and look at Mada's start. Mada completely dominating here. Everyone's surviving the wood section, trying to catch up to Mada. Baywick with that glorious nose slide there. It looks so nice as they all make the jump, and we've got a really close round with Baywick clipping there on the left. Quite unfortunate, but he's still in the round. Things can still happen in the second half here. J-Swag trying to catch up, but he has less speed there over the little hilly section where you have to climb. He does keep the gear, but it's so slow, allowing Bren to pull away very far from him. And the Jetlag in full control here. They just have to make this jump, which can sometimes be problematic, but not if you're Jetlag. And that's an ace straight away. 106.9 and a 107.0. I think Mahi might be in trouble again. Crazy pace there, displayed by Jetlag, that even the top European teams would struggle with competing against. However, that's an early mistake from Mada, who we still have an insane start, so maybe this is an opening for Mahi. Maybe this is something they can take advantage of, but unfortunately J-Swag gives the advantage back to Jetlag with a massive mistake. Brandon first, Baywick in second, and we gotta make sure that at least they don't get aced. If they get aced here, it's probably already over. So Baywick trying to at least stay in second here. Maybe waiting for a mistake from Bran, because the only way J-Swag can catch up here is with a respawn from at least one of the Jetlag players. Bran, however, is doing a great job, doesn't slide out on ice. We'll get a nice and tight exit here. Baywick maybe with a bit more speed, but it's not gonna be enough as long as Bran makes the jump, which he does. Mada as well, and that's another 106. So how do you play against this?
Victory.
Because Mahi are in a position where they have to ace, but how do you ace if someone is drawing 106 all the time? Jetlag really putting in a very strong showing here, and not leaving Mahi with any chance, because so far there has been at least one Jetlag player driving an insane time every round. So even when you see one of them completely crash, like now, the other one always gets the job done. So this time it's Mada's turn to make sure Jetlag don't get aced. He doesn't do the nose slide there, but gets through this section, no problem. Now he is a bit behind the Mahi players this time, however, we still got half of the map left. And we've seen Mahi sometimes struggle in the second half. Mada looking good, that is a great drift. Catches up completely to J-Swag in first. Another great section. Look at how well Mada is doing here. Baywick dropping further and further. And Mada knows he just needs second here. He doesn't have to attack for first, but he does that anyway. Overtakes with an amazing ice exit. Nice line there, and Mada secures first with 106.7. Insane time
Draw.
in a match. Mada absolutely smashing this. So far with one early mistake. And other than that, he's been so good. And yeah, we even saw 106.9 by a Mahi player, but it's simply not enough. Because as usual, there's always one, and this time it's Bren's turn. Look, they just get one ace, and then they take turns defending. Very interesting. However, Bren this time around crashes, and this is what Mahi have been waiting for. They have to take advantage of this. This is when they have to ace. They have over 1 second. There is zero chance that Jetlag can catch up on pace. So Mahi just have to avoid crashing. They just have to drive normally. No need to take any risks. No need to drive any lines they're not comfortable with. Just make sure they get over the line, and they will be in it, because so far the times we've seen from them are not bad. They're just not as good as Jetlag's times, but if Jetlag can make these mistakes together, then Mahi have a chance, and that is a double 106. And Mahi are actually really, really strong on this map. So Mahi showing what they've got. even when they don't have to, they drive a double 106, and we've got a real match on our hands here on this map. Let's see if Jetlag are a bit rattled, or if they can play like nothing has happened. Oh, that's a rough start there for Bren. Mada already far ahead, but Bren's struggling a little bit. Maybe a bit shaken up by what happened in the previous round. Everyone making it through the wood section, but Bren very slow, had to readjust on exit and then crashes again. Bren does not look good at the moment, and a lot of the burden is on the Mada's shoulders, who needs to get at least second here, ideally first for them. Mahi driving together, waiting for a mistake from Mada, and if Mada makes a mistake, they will definitely be in the mud here, because the Mahi are lying in wait. Nobody slides out. Mada with a very nice line will be able to stay in first here. Mahi waiting to strike, but Mada does not let them, and Mada again defends with another 106.
Draw.
That is a draw. 7-6. Jetlag in position to win the track with an ace. So far, we've had one ace from each side, so it's not been that easy to ace for either side here. Both teams are doing a great job on this map. Mahi just slightly slower, and Jetlag making a few more mistakes. This time, they're in the top two. They're looking really good, poised to get the ace, but then Mada crashes. Baywek respawns, and who is in a better position? Looks like it's Baywek, because he respawned and Mada just continued driving. So we've got two 1v1s. We've got Bren versus Jaceweg up front. Baywek has a 0.3 lead over Mada. However, we know Mada can catch up that much, so anything can happen here still. Bren is holding on strong here. They would like to at least get a draw, but Jaceweg comes so much closer, trying to attack here for first. Getting a win here would be huge for Mahi, as that would equal the score, and Jaceweg has a better line. Who gets the lower jump here? Looks like it's gonna be Bren, because he goes tighter, and Bren gets it done. With Baywek a bit slower, he cannot make the jump. Where is Mada? Mada is also struggling. Baywek's second try makes it, and Baywek at least secures the draw, with Mada also failing the jump and getting stuck in that respawn loop there. If you fail the jump once there, you are most likely dead, because it means the respawn will be exactly the same as your first attempt. So after all that, only a draw, following that really strong end from Bren. And now both teams could get it done in this round. Mahi needing an ace, Jetlag needing a victory. And let's see if both Jetlag players can survive. This time they do. Everyone survives. We've got a really close round on our hands. Baywek trying to go for the no slide, but it doesn't work out this time, and that's a huge mistake by Brent again. They're really trading places. Each round, one of them with a big mistake, and the other one has to get it done, which they usually do. As Mada is in first, quite a commanding lead here, over 0.3 now. Jaceweg again in second. Cannot really do much about this unless Mada allows him to come back to first. Mada losing just a little bit, but it's fine. Gets that section done and jump into 106.9. That's another draw, and we might be looking at overtime here. We would need a Mahi victory for that. And the Jetlag need a hero. They need someone to drive a really fast time to close it out with a draw. So far, that's how most rounds have been looking, and we know now it's Bren's turn to get it done. Can Mada maybe break the pattern and survive? All four players still very close, no big mistakes. Nicely done onto the wood section. Everyone survives. Look at how close this is. Great turn by everyone. Baywek again struggling. Maybe the no slide line is not worth it if you cannot pull it off consistently. And we've got Mada in first on another really strong run. This is all Jetlag need. If nobody can beat Mada here, then it's all over. And someone has to try. J-Swag is way too far behind, so it's all up to Baywek here. But at this point, even if he gets first, it's not gonna be enough. Unless J-Swag somehow magically finds a way to finish third. Mada, no mistakes here. Bren is in third in case anything goes wrong. Mada makes it, and that will be it. 2-0 for Jetlag. Mada with another 0.9. But at one point, it did look like Mahi could maybe do something. However, they needed just a few more really quick rounds. They showed they can do 0.9s. They even did that ace with a double 0.9. But they simply didn't drive enough of those times to be able to beat that winning Jetlag player each round. So 2-0, but a much better contest than on map 1. And we now go on to Reunion, which is Mahi's second pick. And the map where J-Swag usually looks really good. And the Baywek is just trying to be the consistent one. Make sure he prevents the ace from the opposing team. Let's see if this is maybe the chance for Mahi to get back into the match. Or if we're gonna see a 3-0 clean sweep. Good start there by Mahi. With Mada already 0.2 behind. This is how much you can lose, even without a mistake, as J-Swag then makes one. Leaving Baywek alone. This is it. This is where Baywek needs to hold on and make sure they don't get aced, but he makes a mistake of his own already. And leaves Jetlag in an easy position just to secure the ace very early on. Bren, regardless, goes over the gap, doesn't flip. Baywek with a respawn. J-Swag is 2 seconds behind. And they've just made it way too easy for Jetlag. They're not even making Jetlag work for it. They're obviously gonna know they're too experienced. And this end is very easy to save if you know you've got such a big lead. Bren is not really saving. He is going as close as possible there to the edge. But regardless, they get it done. It's a 3-0 start to Reunion. And it's not looking good for Mahi. Baywek probably stuck in a respawn loop. So Mahi need to respond straight away. And look at Mada's stats. 13% crashes, 60% top ones. He's been doing really well. I think today Mada has been playing better than Bren, at least in this match. And that's a huge mistake by Bren already, just as I mentioned him. He has no speed over the wood, so he's completely out. Let's see if the Mahi duo can do some damage in this round. Once again, it's all on Mada's shoulders. But so far, he's shown he can handle it. That is a very slow section, however, allowing Baywek to come back. No flipping. J-Swag also survives. Baywek has managed to overtake Mada even. So now it's up to J-Swag to try and get the ace here. He gets a terrible drift, even drops the gear. So there's no chance he can come back unless Mada allows him to. Mada, however, knows that he's safe as long as he doesn't respawn or full stop. Oh my days, he clips but somehow survives. That is so close, but he hangs on barely. Mada almost throwing it away. But turns just enough to not clip and get aced back straight away. Great save by Mada in the end, but he really did make a mess of it. On to the next round we go, and that was Mada just completely falling off. What is going on at the moment? It's now Bren's turn to defend here. And so far, both teams looking quite shaky on Reunion. Mahi with a great start. 2v1 situation. And they probably know that Bren has been the crashy one today, so maybe they're feeling like they have a chance. And that's exactly what happens. Bren misses the booster, and this has to be it. They're risking anyway. Maybe the call has not been made yet, but they have such a massive lead that they should really get it done. Mada with another respawn, not that it matters. They're 4 seconds ahead. This has to be an ace for Mahi because Jetlag actually look really poor on this map. So this has to be an ace for Mahi. And they avoid clipping there on the left, which is, I guess, the most common mistake in the end of this map. And they do get it done. So Mahi, for the first time in the match, are in the lead. 5-4 here. With Jetlag really struggling on this map. Can they pull themselves together? I'm looking at Bren more than Mada, honestly. That was an odd mistake by Mada, but Bren with more crashes than top ones. It's not something you often see from Bren. Good start this time, but then crashes fully. What is going on with him? He just cannot complete a clean round. And once again gives Mahi a great opportunity. Because it's a 2v1 situation. And can Mada defend? I mean, the most he can get from this is a draw. So, unless Mahi make a huge mistake, Jetlag are not gonna catch up. They can just keep the same points difference. Mada with a great reactor up section, stays in first. Mahi just trying to catch up and waiting for a mistake from Mada. All of them keeping the same gap. Now let's see if Mada can navigate that turn where he clipped a little bit the previous time. This is gonna be key here. They all get it done. Mada a bit wide. Can Baywek maybe snipe? No. Mada holds on with a very strong time. And this is a strong round from Mahi as well. Low 0.5, 0.6. Great round, but Mada is so strong. There's no problem with making the odd mistake like Mada is, because he's been so strong in all of the other rounds. This time a bit of a slower start, but that's fine. He can definitely come back from this. As Baywek has made a mistake of his own, leaving J-Swag alone against Bren. And this is another chance for Bren to mentally come back and show what he's capable of on Reunion. Still 6-5 for Mahi. They're in a good position. And with Baywek a bit behind, I'm sure they would take a draw right now if he offered it to them. Everyone risking away the gap. They make it happen. J-Swag is still in first with 2 Jetlag players right behind him. They all got a good drift, but then J-Swag completely messes up. And this could be it. This could be the crucial round for Jetlag to take over the match and kill it off. With J-Swag a respawn, Baywek is 0.8 behind. If nobody clips, then there should be an ace. Bren is a bit slow, but manages to survive. And that is unfortunate for Mahi, who are now 8-6 down. And ideally really need an ace to maybe have a chance of winning this map. And these are times that they can beat. That is the thing. They've shown they're capable of beating 0.6s and 0.7s. And then Bren again. He just had that one round. He got the ace. And now he's back to crashing. But Baywek with an even bigger mistake. So we've got Mada versus J-Swag. And this could be over because Baywek is so far behind. It's all up to J-Swag to beat Mada in a 1v1. To stay in the match, Mada crashes, however. Leaving J-Swag in a great position to secure the draw. Very big gaps between the players this round, so there's no real fights. We're just looking out for any mistakes that could shake up the round. J-Swag is lagging a lot, but is making his way through the map. Mada is coming closer though. It's only 0.3 now. J-Swag needs to stay ahead, otherwise it's all over. Mada coming closer yet again. He is going for the attack. Let's see if Mada can get it done here. Mada with a better line again. but it's not going to be enough as J-Swag stays ahead with a 0.7. Bren closes out in third, and it's 9-7. So this is guaranteed to be the last round of Reunion. Either Jetlag win the match or Mahi force it to map 4. Let's see here. This is the ultimate pressure. You know it's do or die. Jetlag want to get it done, and Mahi want to stay alive. Good start by everyone. They just gotta make sure they don't get wiped out completely. Just stay in the round for as long as you can. Great start for Mahi though. They're doing exactly as they need right now. They are first and second. They need that ace. Bren is trying to compete. Mada slightly behind. Loses even more. But Bren is right in the mix there. Even overtakes for first. Great line by Bren. He's fighting here now for first and second. Bren, great drift. Where is J-Swag? J-Swag loses a lot of ground. Didn't get the drift properly. And this could be the end. Even though Baywak is in first, J-Swag might be too far behind. He might need a double mistake here from Jetlag. Somehow survives. And the Jetlag will manage to get it done. This is gonna be a draw. And what a great round this was.
Draw.
Baywak wins with a 0.3. And then double 0.5 by Mada and Bren. Probably the best round we've seen all match. And that is a GG. 3-0 win for Jetlag. But Mahi did make it close on 2 out of the 3 maps. If you had to predict how the tournament would unfold, I think you would get everything spot on. You won a map against Russia and Mafia? That's an upset. I didn't watch that, unfortunately. Which map did you win? Oh, you won this one. Alright. Let's see what a Russian Mafia can do here, as a Baywak makes an early mistake. However, Naive responds with a mistake of his own. And he is now in last, trailing Baywak by around 0.2. Makes his way through the wood section, no problem. Nobody has crashed there on the ice yet. That is interesting. However, J-Swag is really far ahead. And the others are just dropping further and further. Baywak just trying to catch up here to leave. Full risk over the gap, and look how much he gains. Up to second now. Avoids the nose slide. Barely avoids crashing on the left. It actually looked like he would crash. Had to readjust, which allows a Leaf to catch up. And Leaf really needs this second place desperately if he wants to prevent an early ace. Baywak with a slightly better line, trying his best, gets the earliest reactor possible. And then crashes in the end, but still makes it, bounces over the finish line for an ace straight away. And Naive is just lying on his back like a dead turtle. That is an unfortunate start for the Russians. Mahi dominating round 1. Not with the quickest times, but it's about winning. It's not about driving world records. With Naive once again with a slightly slower start. He is not having a good start to the match. Trying to catch up here. Baywak goes over the gap once, but the second time he just couldn't make it happen. Gets wiped out. Again, leaving everything for J-Swag to do. He is in first, however, having no problems so far. Leaf trying to catch up. J-Swag has clearly learned from his early mistakes here on Reunion and is not flipping over anymore on the reactor up section. Nicely done there. Baywak with another respawn, so it's up to J-Swag really to secure the draw. With Leaf trying to catch up, but he's only losing more and more. Not able to really keep up with J-Swag's pace. who can afford to fully save it and drop a gear if he needs to. Gets it done with a 0.6, which just might be a bit too fast for Leaf and Naive. 4-1 for Mahi. Very strong start for J-Swag in this match. Let's see if this is the chance for them, because J-Swag is... No, that wasn't J-Swag, unfortunately. It looked like his car skin, but it's actually both the Russians who are out. I think Naive and J-Swag have a very similar car skin when all the cars are inside each other. But then Baywak with a respawn. And he is in last, so we have the same situation as last round. Only J-Swag has an even bigger lead to work with. All the players really far away from each other. J-Swag fully over the gap. I don't really know the checkpoints on this map, so I have no clue if he's on an insane time or why he would go for such a risky line. But after that drift, he's definitely not on an insane time anymore. So all he has to do is just finish, make sure they get another point on the board, and go into the next round hoping that Baywak can clean up his start. And that's a 107.7, so it was pretty solid before he messed up the drift.
Draw.
5-2 for Mahi. Still in a very strong position with neither of the Russian Mafia players able to beat J-Swag whatsoever, who has won all 3 rounds so far. Driving 107 each round, and Baywak once again with a mistake. He was the last one to join the server, so maybe he needed a bit more to relax between the matches, because he clearly doesn't seem to be in the right headspace for this match. He simply cannot avoid crashing in the start, and every round it's up to J-Swag to make sure they keep their lead. Right now J-Swag once again getting the job done. No problems with both Russian and Mafia players surviving so far, but then Naive getting a very, very slow drift exit. Leaf even overtaking. Maybe Baywak can have a chance. Seems like he's a bit too far behind. Drops the gear again. And both Russians making their way through the reactor plastic section, and J-Swag with a great time.
Draw.
Leaving nothing up to chance. Simply blowing away the Russian Mafia players. Making sure he secures another draw. That's 4 wins now for J-Swag. He's really showing what he can do. And trying to scare the Jetlag players. Absolutely smashing it so far. Another great start. He is in first. We'll have a good angle for this to get a lot of speed out of. And look at this. All the players inside of each other. Naive trying to take control of the round. No mistakes yet. Baywak is in it as well. Fighting with Leaf for third. He really does not care about that gap. And now Mahi trying to secure another ace, which would put them in commanding position of the map, because J-Swag has looked amazing so far. But look at this, the Russian Mafia not letting Baywak go even up to third, let alone second. So it's up to J-Swag once again to secure the draw. J-Swag making it happen, as I think it was Naive crashing. Leaf with a match PB, and Baywak in third. But J-Swag maintains his 100% win rate. Insane performance so far. And now they're on track point. With J-Swag performing this way, all they need is a Baywak in third, and it might be over already. That's a mistake from Leaf, seems like. And this will be very hard to come back from. J-Swag once again in first. Baywak right next to him, with only Naive there. to try and win the round because they need to win. Otherwise, it's all over. Baywek with a respawn, however, which will allow Leaf to go up to third. All of a sudden, Naive does not have to win. But it would sure be nice for them. So we're in draw formation, which would make the score 9-5. As long as the J-Swag manages to stay in first. Goes a bit wide, allows a Naive to overtake, and that will be a victory even for Russian Mafia. First round that J-Swag has not won. But 9-6 is still very strong.
Victory.
It's the lags that make it look like he's gonna crash sometimes. But it's actually Baywek who crashes, and then Naive just even gave up for a second. Has to respawn all the way to the start, and that will be it. Baywek is struggling. However, his teammate is smashing it, so I have no doubt that J-Swag is gonna close this out. The mistake that Naive made was way too big. He even stood there for a second trying to collect his thoughts, and by the time he respawned, he was too far behind. I mean, he's completely given up. You hate to see it. You always gotta fight until the very end. You never know what's gonna happen, as what we've seen yesterday on this map exactly. An insane comeback. So this is a guaranteed win for Mahi. There is nothing Leaf can do here. Let's just see what the J-Swag can do in the end. And that will be a 107.5. So even without Naive's mistake, I'm pretty sure there was nothing the Russians could have done about this. Naive is just taking in the scenery a bit, trying to calm down and relax before we go on to the next map. A very, very strong showing from J-Swag, especially. Baywek didn't really do that well. Luckily for him, he didn't have to. And look at these stats. 0% crashes on map 1. 85% top ones. Only getting second that one round when his opponent drove a 0.6. Very, very good performance. However, if there's one map they're gonna lose, it's probably this one. Let's see if they can do a bit better this time around. Even though last time they did win, but there was definitely an opening for Russian Mafia to take it. However, Leaf has already made a mistake and put Naive in a position where he simply has to get at least second. Those early mistakes really put a lot of pressure on your teammate, especially when they're so frequent. And it's hard to handle the fact that you have to do something every single round and you have no breathing room when your teammate crashes at the start of each round. So Naive right now trying to at least stay in second, but looks like J-Swag is coming a bit closer. With Baywek in first, this is a great opportunity to get an ace, but then J-Swag with his first mistake of the match. And it's up to Baywek to make sure they don't get aced. Naive trying to overtake for first, but doesn't get a good line through there, leaving Baywek with more speed. And Baywek manages to get it done with a 0.5, which in this situation is enough.
Draw.
First round of Ellipse is a draw. Clearly, J-Swag is the worst map here. He does manage to get through the start, at least, with Baywek struggling a little bit. Much better start for Russian Mafia, looking to win their first ace of the match, as they have both taken the lead. A very wide box slide there for J-Swag. At least he keeps the gear, which leaves him in contention for the round. And you can see the checkpoint times here are much slower compared to the jet lag checkpoint times. However, it might just be enough. Both Russians still in first and second. J-Swag not able to do anything about it. Baywak is completely out of it, as we know. So it's really down to this box slide here. Can he get it tight and quick? No. He loses even more ground. He's now 0.4 behind, 0.3 behind, and even second. And this could be a very strong round for Russian Mafia, and they do get it done. 4-1 for Russian Mafia. And if they're ever gonna win a map, then it has to be now. You have to take advantage of this. Do not get aced back straight away. That is so key. No clips in the start. J-Swag with the usual lags. Liv struggling a little bit, but manages to stay alive at least. Through the no brake section, no problem. Onto the box slide. That was an amazing box slide there by Baywak. However, Naive is still in first, and all four players really close to each other. With Leaf then crashing into the checkpoint. Also saw a few Neo sleds there. Bit risky, but if it works, it works. So it's down to Naive once again. Like in the previous match against these teams. Once Russian Mafia gets the ace, Leaf starts crashing, and it's down to Naive to make sure they keep the advantage. Baywak gets that horrible box-side exit, so Naive is all alone. There is nothing Mahi can do about this, except watch Naive drive into the finish. Secure the 5th point, and J-Swag with a respawn. So Leaf actually gets 3rd here. And that's gonna be 6-2 for Russian Mafia. A great position to be in. This is the biggest lead they've had so far in any of the 3 matches they've played against Mahi this weekend. Can they just hold on to it? Easier said than done, I guess, because Leaf has once again done the exact same thing. And once again, it's up to Naive, who crashes as well. There is no way they're gonna crumble like this. Mahi have 0.6 to work with. They just gotta keep it together. They don't go for the Neo slide. Very smart. Just keep the gear there. Baywak so close to clipping the hole, and it would have been all over then. Nicely done through the reactor plastic. But Baywak then completely crumbles, and Baywak all of a sudden is in last. That is a huge throw. Leaving it all up to J-Swag now, who has to make sure he doesn't respawn. And Baywak has really not been on it this match at all. J-Swag with a 112, that's perfectly fine. If you know you've got the gap, you can use it.
Draw.
So the points gap stays exactly the same. Baywak really needs to pull himself together if Mahi are to come back in this map here. Leaf this time survives, but Naive is the one making the mistake. We've got the opposite situation where it's up to Leaf to make sure they don't get aced. Let's see, Baywak is still in it. Actually in second, with J-Swag in third. Barely avoids disaster both on the left and on the right. Naive still too far behind, has even crashed into the checkpoint. So Leaf has a nice lead. If he can just keep this draw alive, they will be in a great position to close it out. They are of course on checkpoint, but it's not gonna happen with Naive dead last. J-Swag coming closer here, trying to overtake. They need to get at least a victory to have some sort of chance of coming back on this map. That is a great box slide there by J-Swag. leaving a Leaf in the dust, and even Baywek is coming closer. Can Baywek maybe overtake here in the end? It's very difficult to gain anything here. No, so it's only a win for Mahi. 8-5 now.
Victory.
Mahi still desperately needing an ace to come back. 2 victories will not be enough. So Russian Mafia just gotta make sure they have 1 player in the top 2 in both the remaining rounds. Bit of a slower start, but at least none of them has crashed this time. Coming closer to Mahi now. Let's see. Usually Mahi have some troubles here in this section, but it's Naive actually who respawns, so it's all up to Leaf again. Does a nice neo slide through there, goes all the way up to first. Both Mahi players really close, and that is a crucial mistake. And all of a sudden, it's looking like 8-8, because I think even with a respawn, this could still be an ace. Baywek, however, avoids disaster this time around. Goes for a bit of a safer box slide, very wide. Takes no chances. They should know they're over 3 seconds ahead. Nicely done through penalty reactor, and that is it. 8-8. Mahi equaled the score with Russian Mafia once again throwing it away on this map, just like they did the previous time we played it. Both teams on track point. Can anyone get the victory here? A victory would end the map for either side. Through the drift, looks like everyone dropped the gear. No crashes, however, which is what's important. Again, Russian Mafia still looking good at this point, but then somehow they start dropping one by one. After we get through this section right here. Baywek, very slow exit, struggling a lot there. So it's all on J-Swag's shoulders here to carry and try to at least secure the draw, otherwise they're gonna lose this. Both the Russians still holding on strong though, not allowing J-Swag to go up to first. Trying his best through the no-break section. Baywek completely out, has to respawn. J-Swag has no exit speed, so he is in third, quite far behind. Needed a good box slide. That's 1 mistake, however he needs 1 more, because Baywek is not close enough to Naive to overtake. He needs to risk here. Can he get it done? That's a very slow exit there for Leaf, and J-Swag gets it done. That's a draw. Crazy ending there by J-Swag. What a save. Leaf simply took it too safe. And is that exactly what Mahi needed? Let's see if Baywek can step it up a bit. I guess not, because that's an early crash already. So once again, it is up to J-Swag to try to save the round for them. He is in third, but we saw how strong his ending can be. That is a much better line compared to Naive. Goes up to second. Naive has to respawn, and Russian Mafia could be in the mud here. It's up to Leaf, who was on a pretty solid time. That was a 0.6 checkpoint right after the fragile section. Great job here by Leaf. J-Swag can't really come closer. Naive is completely out. Baywek can also not catch up. So really it's up to Leaf here, who goes super wide. Is this the chance for J-Swag? Is he within striking distance here? J-Swag with a better line again. He is coming closer, but it's not gonna be enough this time. It's gonna be another draw, and we're going into overtime. And Leaf's PB is a 0.5.
Draw.
We are into overtime. Still looking for a victory from either team. who can hold their nerves the best. Great start for Russian Mafia. It's J-Swag who drops back a bit, which could spell trouble for Mahi because he is usually the carry player. Let's see the bug slide. That's very wide. At least he keeps the gear. Baywek also drops behind. And Baywek also usually has a very slow exits out of that section there. So Mahi in real trouble here. Mahi needs some magic, or they need one of the Russians to do exactly that. Because right now it's a draw, and all of a sudden the pressure is all on Naiv's shoulders. Can he at least secure the draw? J-Swag with a really bad exit. So maybe Baywek can overtake here for first. He has way more speed here than Naive. Baywek versus Naive. Can Mahi maybe take the win? Oh, that is a great ending by Baywek, and he gets it done. Finally, Baywek wakes up and gets an insanely tight finish.
Victory.
That is a victory for Mahi. Baywek clutching up when Mahi needed it the most. And that is 2-0. Heartbreaking for Russian Mafia, who might be done now. Once again, it looked like they were gonna have it, but then made a mistake in the no-break section. Baywek with an insane end gets Mahi over the line. Baywek is trolling with a fragile sand, keeping gear 2 shenanigans. His exit is really bad every single time. I don't even know how. Now he messes the gear up every time. And he keeps losing too much time there. However, it was enough. And as usual, we have the same map order. Sunburn will probably not get played today, unfortunately. Naive with an early respawn. The mental game has clearly taken a hit. And the Mahi are looking to secure a rematch against Jetlag. J-Swag a bit slower, but that's fine still. We know what can happen in the second half of Limbo. They just gotta make sure they survive until the second half. See J-Swag a bit laggy as usual. Avoids crashing here like last time. Barely gets the reactor. He is really struggling there with that turnaround. I remember that from yesterday. However, navigates the following section nicely. Leaf is still holding strong in second. Now Leaf here really has to make sure he doesn't miss the finish, or this could be disaster from round 1. That is high enough. And that is gonna be good enough. Baywek with 106.34. An insane rounds time.
Victory.
Maybe Baywek has actually woken up. Maybe a round like the last one on Lips was exactly what he needed, because that was really, really good. And that is what Mahi are gonna need against Jetlag, provided they finish off Russian Mafia here. Good start here for Leaf and Baywek, but Naive and J-Swag are completely out of it. So again, it's up to Baywek here. And it's completely flipped around from what we saw on the map 1, where J-Swag was carrying hard. All of a sudden, it's Baywek who is holding on for Mahi. Both get the reactor, no problem. Baywek looking to be on another very strong run. No issues whatsoever. Leaf very low, very nicely done. Will catch up just a little bit, but has too much speed, has to release a lot. Clips a bit, actually barely survives. He is far ahead of J-Swag. Goes for the jump anyway. Baywek misses the finish because he clips the edge of the pool, bouncing out. And that gives an ace to Russian Mafia. What an insane bounce that was. He crashed right onto the edge of the pool, launching himself all the way to the moon. That was crazy. And out of nowhere, that is an ace for Russian Mafia. But we've seen them throw away a strong position like this before, and it's still very early in the map. So anything can happen here. J-Swag once again is in last. Trying to catch up. Just trying to survive probably all the way until the second half, where the circus happens. Everyone is still very close to each other. Baywek as usual in first. That's the first mistake of the round there from Naive. J-Swag barely gets the reactor yet again. Loses so much time there. Will bounce a bit. Can he even make this Bob section clean here? Yes, he can. Let's go up to Leaf, who has a terrible angle. But then out of nowhere, it's Naive in second. And we gotta watch Baywek. Can he do it this time? And he does jump high enough. Naive in second to make sure they don't get aced back straight away. And the Leaf will finish through the slower route.
Victory.
So Russian Mafia keep getting losses, but are barely ahead due to their ace. On to the next round we go. So far, Baywek, the standout player of the map, despite that launch to the moon. And J-Swag again having some troubles in the start. Even when he survives, he's a bit slower compared to the rest of the pack. Seems like he is just waiting for mistakes on this map from the other players, rather than trying to compete by pace. And this is still anyone's game here. All four players very close to each other. J-Swag gets wiped out, but somehow saves it back with the reactor. Will make it over the hill, but he is most likely out of the round with Leaf as well. Having to respawn. Baywek with a respawn. Naive is all alone. Leaf with a million more respawns. Naive, the only player who didn't have to respawn, goes for the low jump, makes it happen. J-Swag next. J-Swag messes up. Leaf too far behind. Baywek will make it. J-Swag will make it a second time around. And that will be a draw. Naive with a 106, which is quite solid.
Draw.
This map is pure cinema, as usual. 6-5 for Russian Mafia, but we have seen this before. We have seen them get to checkpoint and then throw it all away. J-Swag this time not in last, having his best start of the match yet. It's Leaf actually who's struggling a little bit. Still alive though, can still win the round based on what we've seen so far. Well, might be difficult after that. So it's up to Naive really to make sure they get the draw. Mahi not able to overtake him yet. Once again, J-Swag barely gets the reactor, but then Baywek has to respawn. Naive has quite a lead. Can he just hold on? J-Swag at least survives barely under the bar. So it's up to Naive to make the jump. He clips. J-Swag will have way more speed and can win the round if he just makes the jump. He does jump high enough. Baywek way too far behind. Naive is in second, and here we see the other two. Baywek jumps over the pool. And there will be a victory for Mahi, and we have
Victory.
an equal score, 7-7. Anyone's game, Mahi on match point, Russian Mafia on track point. Either side needing an ace to close it out. Who can hold their nerves the best? Everyone making it through the start. Naive just slightly slower, but that's perfectly fine. That's less fine. He will have enough speed here though. As long as he adapts just a little bit, he makes it through. He's still not out of it yet based on what we've seen. The other three, however, really close to each other. Leaf trying to prevent Mahi from acing them and losing the match. So he has to get at least second here. Otherwise, it's lights out. Baywek with another respawn, and he's completely crumbling compared to the early rounds, leaving Leaf in first. Looks like Jacewek has way more speed. Who gets the better angle here? Oh no, Jacewek with a massive mistake, leaving Leaf alone in first. He just needs to jump high enough. He goes for it, makes it happen. Jacewek also survives. And no, Naive actually goes for the low line, and that's an ace and track point for Russian Mafia. Naive with a massive risk. Jacewek not recognizing the situation at all. Going too safe and jumping too high. So we're going on to Ascension. Jacewek there, maybe taking it too safe. This is exactly why I don't really like that high jump. It doesn't really accomplish anything. When you're in the clear, you just go around. Otherwise, you just go for the low jump. But high jump still has a high chance of crashing. And you can get sniped like that. Imagine Russian Mafia didn't troll Ellipse. Exactly. He actually could have been in the lead here. Now, if Mahi play this map the way they played against Jetlag, they will completely dominate. So let's see here with Leaf already with an early mistake. Naive risking so much, but then clips and leaves a Mahi in a commanding position. Jacewek even showing off that cute no slide. And they should close it out now. This is a very strong lead you have on Ascension, because they can afford to save all of these dangerous obstacles. Both of them keeping the gear. Leaf with a double respawn. Naive is over 1.5 seconds behind. Jacewek with a bad ice slide, but it's still fine. He just needs to make it here. He doesn't gamble with the safe finish. That's a great time by Baywek. That is what he's gonna have to drive against the Jetlag. If they don't throw Ascension away, like they threw Limbo. Yeah, seems like here Mahi are too good. But with 2-2, who knows what would have happened on Sunburn. It's really Ellipse that they threw. They needed to win that one. We've already seen 0.7 in rounds here as well. That was before you joined the stream by Mada. Pretty good start by everyone. Mahi doing a great job avoiding mistakes there on wood, but Naive with an even better section. And we have a really close round now. Everyone making it, but Baywek just clips a little bit. He's not out of it yet though. Wasn't a full crash at least, but that's a full crash from Jacewek. So it's up to Baywek here to prevent the counter ace. Nice uphill there. Leaf has dropped a lot. He just has to make sure he doesn't get sniped by Jacewek anymore. And that's a respawn from Naive, and they're fully throwing with Baywek. A respawn as well. Who is even first anymore? It's Leaf somehow. With Jacewek in second, and it's all flipped around. What a round. From 106 to 109. So victory for Russian Mafia at least, and Mahi not really showing up in this round at all. So they are showing they can be beaten here. Maybe not on pace, but definitely due to mistakes. Let's see in this round with Leaf being a bit behind. However, we've seen mistakes happen later. Fortunately, the mistake was made by his teammate, but then Baywek, how do you even crash there? He is super lucky that one of his opponents has crashed as well, so he is only in third. J-Swag all alone, and so far Ascension has been a complete mess. So many mistakes each round. This time it's only J-Swag with Naive. A massive mistake, has to respawn. That is the worst possible place to crash on this map. Right into that checkpoint, where you then have to do the standing respawn because you're guaranteed to take the checkpoint. So this is looking like an ace, and an easy ace as well for Mahi. Baywak barely makes it. He had so much time to work with, but he decided to make it a bit more interesting. That is 7-2, and even though Mahi don't look rock solid at this moment in time on Ascension, they're still playing well enough for Russian Mafia to not really stand a chance. Can be focus related, not a lack of prac. It seems like it, because they've shown they can play all maps except maybe Ellipse, but they've also shown a strong ground on Ellipse against the jet lag, so does seem to be a lack of focus. Like, who knows? It's hard to say just looking at them. It's only them who really know what is going wrong or why they're struggling a bit. Well, in this round it's Russian Mafia who's struggling because they're already one player down. It's only Naive really trying to do something here, and he definitely needs to prevent the ace, otherwise it's all over. This could be the end for Russian Mafia in official tournament number 2, but then J-Swag crashes. Same way Naive crashed last round, has to do the standing respawn. Baywak with a mistake of his own. And all of a sudden, this could be at least a draw for Russian Mafia. And I say draw for them because it's much better to get the draw than to get aced. Naive with a slow end. Baywak might just snipe, and he does. So it's gonna be a victory, and it's gonna be match point for Mahi yet again. They just need 1 point. Russian Mafia only on 3. They need 2 aces minimum.
Victory.
This is almost unthrowable for Mahi. However, we have seen them in the exact same situation in the previous match where they got aced, because both of them made huge mistakes. Let's see if they can handle it this time better. As I say that, J-Swag is already really far behind with a massive mistake. But Leaf has somehow made an even bigger mistake. What is going on here? So even though J-Swag has given the Russians a massive opportunity, Leaf responds right back, says, no, we don't want to play against Jetlag. You guys go and have a crack at them. So this should be all over. As long as they can just get into the finish. They have 11 seconds. Surely this is unthrowable. They can take the safe finish if they want to. They can even get stuck in a respawn loop or a few respawns if they want to. Because Leaf is just further and further away. It doesn't really matter what Naive does. Baywak goes for the jump and makes it, and that will be it. Mahi take the win in quite an unconvincing fashion, honestly. And they will get a rematch against Jetlag in the grand final. You can be bad on a map, then realize exactly what you're doing wrong, and in 2 weeks easily fix it, and it can become your best map. I think this Sunburn pick goes more into Mahi's favor than Jetlag's. But we'll see. Maybe Jetlag are insanely good here, and I'm just unaware of it. I just think when things are going your way, you're better off sticking to it rather than spicing things up. It is a bit of a gamble, but maybe they're really confident. So let's see. Round number 1 of the grand final on Sunburn, where J-Swag has the online world record. So let's see what he can show us here. So far, no mistakes in the start. Both teams looking very strong. That is a very rough angle for Brent, but then Baywak full crash into the wall, has to respawn even. So it's all up to J-Swag to try to defend the ace from happening. Bren with a much different line goes for the drift. Makes it through. All three players still doing a great job. Only Baywek really far behind. Everyone going through the checkpoint and not under the checkpoint. Bren with a completely different ice line. He will go for the spin, as does everyone else. But then J-Swag clips and it's looking like an ace straight away. They can't even go safe if they want to. They have the gap. It's around 0.8. So if you're always second ahead, you can easily go safe. They decide not to, and that's a double 0.06 to kick things off. And an ace for Jetlag. That was a terrible mistake from Baywek. That should never ever happen. And then J-Swag with a mistake later on. So round number 2, Baywek needs to step it up. J-Swag has made an early mistake, so now it's up to Baywek to try to prevent the ace. Because if they get ace twice, that's almost impossible to come back from. Let's see, Baywek manages to survive this time around. Brent a bit slower, but that's fine. They're in a position where they just gotta make sure they stay ahead of J-Swag. Nobody jumps out. Bren again gets it done, but Mada, then massive mistake. J-Swag as well. He decides to respawn. Mada doesn't. And it seems like Mada will lose less time than J-Swag, so we've only got the fight for first to look out for. Baywek with a completely different setup has to go for the normal turnaround rather than the spin, leaving Bren all alone in first. And look at how much Bren has gained. Mada with a respawn, however, will allow J-Swag to at least get third. Bren cannot make it. Baywek wins the run. Where is J-Swag? Can he maybe take advantage of Bren failing? No. It wasn't enough. J-Swag has to go safe. Mada is not close enough. And that was a complete mess. And this is exactly why I think this pick goes more into Mahi's favor. If they can just not make horrible mistakes like Baywek's mistake in round 1, then they definitely have a chance on a map like this. Because anything can happen on Sunburn. You just cannot afford to full crash into the wall in a PF section. Those are the mistakes you gotta avoid, because there's loads of others you're gonna make. And again, Baywek, he crashes where nobody else has crashed before. So it's up to J-Swag to try to make something happen here. Although this time he didn't have to respawn, so he's not completely out of it. Let's see here, can everyone avoid jumping out? They do that very nicely, nobody bumping. Mada manages to survive, no respawn from J-Swag this time around. Jetlag in a commanding position, J-Swag with the risk, makes it. Not really sure that gained him anything, but at least it looked pretty cool. Baywek with a respawn, not that it matters. Nice spin by everyone. J-Swag goes up to second, trying to attack for first. He really needs to get this done. And has to make sure at least they don't get aced. Can he survive? He has more speed than Bren here. Will make it and at least saves his team from getting aced. That is a great round. 0.5, 0.6, 0.6. Very nice. Much better than the average Sunburn round. So, top 3 doing a great job. Baywek needs to step it up. Mahi do have a chance here, and I think Jetlag can be aced. Because the mistakes will happen. Just stay in the round. Smaller mistakes and time losses are fine, just don't get wiped out. And J-Swag there with the best turn out of everyone. Catches up completely to Jetlag. Nice turnaround. Baywek is in last. Now it's Mada actually, who goes for the no slide line. Everyone's surviving. Mada still in last though, and anything can happen. Let's see who can make it through the ice section the best. Everyone going around. Good decision there. Seems like J-Swag only goes for it when he has to risk. Look at how close this is. Everyone going for the spin. Bren has to respawn, and this is the chance for Mahi maybe, because Mada has to make the jump. If he doesn't, it could be equal here. Mada makes it. Great job by Mada. Everyone makes it as well. Only Bren with a mistake. Others lost a little bit on pace. But also a solid round.
Victory.
106.6 is a decent winning time. So victory for Mahi. They're coming closer and they're definitely not out of this yet. We've seen mistakes from both sides. Good start. No mistakes so far. Nobody slides out there. That's really important. Into the box slide. Nicely done. Very tight line there. Surviving the start, no problem, is everyone. Nobody sliding there as well. Nobody full stopping in the wall. J-Swag a bit behind, but we know he has that line under the checkpoint where he can gain around 0.1. Mada with the no slide line survives. Baywek has to respawn, and this is a great situation here for Jetlag because it's only J-Swag who is a bit behind and who needs to prevent the ace. Otherwise, it's over on Sunburn. J-Swag loses even more with that attempt. Both Jetlag players make it through. So it's all on them really. If they don't clip, it is their map. They don't clip. Can they make the jump? Both do, and that is it. 1-0. Another quite solid round for Jetlag. And they will take a 1-0 lead. So they look okay on this. Now they're in a pretty good position because I'm sure they're very confident they're gonna win Ellipse. So they just need to win one of the two Mahi picks. They need to take either Reunion or Ascension. So let's see. If they win Reunion, then Mahi are really in trouble. Round 1, here we go. Brent was struggling a lot last time with the start. Let's see if he has cleaned up his act here. If he can just get onto the ice part without making a mistake, that's already gonna be a good position for Jetlag. Makes it through the start, unlike J-Swag, and this is great for Jetlag because J-Swag is the carry player here. For Mahi, he is usually the one driving crazy times. We have seen 1.3 from Baywek in the previous match, but usually he is a bit slower than J-Swag, so this is quite a rough position for Mahi. Mada absolutely blasting everyone here. But gets a terrible drift, makes a massive mistake. All of a sudden it's Baywek in first, but has a terrible angle, which will allow Brent to come back, but then Brent with a mistake of his own. And it's J-Swag actually who's closer to the Jetlag players. Mada again, another mistake. Completely falling apart in that round, so it's Brent in second actually preventing the ace. And Baywek is the one with the strongest start to Reunion.
Victory.
Maybe there is something for Mahi here after all. Let's see, can J-Swag go back to his usual best on Reunion? That's a really slow start, unfortunately, messes it up. Not looking like himself yet, unfortunately, on Reunion, and this is a strong position for Jetlag. But we have seen them throw this away in the previous round. Great turn by both, they just gotta make sure they stay ahead. Because they've got a nice lead to work with, and probably the most dangerous part for them right now is the drift, where Mada lost it previous round. Can he get it done this time? Oh, that is much better. And this is looking like an ace for Jetlag at this point. They've got half a second to work with. They should know this, and they should be able to manage the rest of the track. Oh, Mada, they're very close to the left edge. But that's a double 0.5, and this is very difficult to play against. Ace for Jetlag, 4-2 lead. And it's looking good on Reunion as well. Mahi really need J-Swag to step it up. Gets the start done, no problems this time. Let's see if he can drive a 107 mid of his own. That's a mistake from Mudda. We haven't seen him crash there before, so it's all on Bren now to defend. Mudda is gonna be quite far behind. He loses even more over the press forward section. That's a mistake from J-Swag as well. He is still gonna be ahead of Mudda, so that's good for him. Still on Bren to prevent the ace, but Bayawek just, you cannot cut the corner that much. I mean, you can risk it, but that was way too much. I think he bit off a bit more than he could chew, and that is another great position for Jetlag. They will be very happy here, even with a draw. Bren has made a mistake, but they will be fine with a draw. But Bren, what is happening here? Luckily, Bayawek is so far behind that he doesn't get punished. But J-Swag wins with a 108 high. It's not something you'll see in a match of this level. So I think given all of the mistakes, Jetlag will be happy with the draw. Because when you drive times like those, you should really get aced. Now, to be fair, they did know they had a lot of time to work with due to Baywek's mistake. Now it's Mudda again. With an early mistake, leaving it up to Bren to prevent the ace from happening. So far, so good for Bren, but we saw him make a mess of the round later on. This time, however, J-Swag survives. He is contesting Bren for first. Baywek a bit behind, however, it's fine. He can just stay around here. Avoids flipping over, doesn't risk anywhere near as much. Good decision. Let's see the drift here. Bren with a slightly better setup. Mudda with another respawn, however, but Bren has more speed than J-Swag. Will be able to take over first. Can he survive the end this time? He just needs to make sure he doesn't clip anything, because Baywek is within striking distance in case a mistake happens. But that's a much better line. It's actually J-Swag who makes a mistake. Baywek with a respawn, still ahead of Mudda though. So this will be another draw. Bren manages to keep it clean this time. 6-4 for Jetlag, still anybody's map. One ace would completely turn this around. Mentally as well. No, Mudda, 2 mistakes in 2 rounds. Can he just survive? Bren having a bit of trouble, but doesn't crash. That's really important. Only 0.2 behind. He can come back from that from sure. Mudda makes his way. Avoids disaster there on the left. Trying to attack for first. Nice drift. Gets a lot of exit speed there. With his teammate Bren in last, but it's tightly packed still. Anything can happen. With Baywek, I have no idea what the hell he's doing there. That is never gonna work. He misses the turn by like 100 pixels. And leaves it all up to J-Swag yet again. With Jetlag in a position to get the victory, which would put them within track point. J-Swag probably has to go for the draw here, because 8-5 is gonna be really difficult to come back from. Even with an ace, they would still be in a position where they're far away from winning.
Victory.
Because Jetlag, as usual, always have that one player with a really good time. And Mahi need Baywek to stop trolling in the reactor up section. I mean, he's just cutting the corner in half. That is just never gonna work. You're not gonna invent a new line mid-match. With Bren now cutting the corner there. Makes it work, survives. He's still within the pack. And the Jetlag need a victory to win their second map and come very close to winning the second tournament. Mudda has made a mistake. However, let's see, Baywek cuts it a lot again. This time survives. He's really going for it. He does not care whatsoever. He is determined to make it work there. Gets it much better, and this could be an ace here. It's really up to Brent to try to prevent the ace. Gets a terrible bob exit. Brent is in the mud here. He's really relying on Bayek to make a mistake. Will Bayek drop the gear? He survives, avoids disaster on the left. Brent cannot catch up this much. And that is an ace for Mahi. Really strong time there by J-Swag. 0.3. And the Bayek backs him up with a 0.6. Mahi is still not in the clear though. They need a victory now, but at least now they know that they can get it done. And Mada has been very shaky on this map. 2 massive mistakes. With that mistake, that was enough to put him down to 4th. Let's see if he can keep it together for at least one round. Because right now, Jetlag have a 0.2 lead. Looking great for them. And let's keep our eyes on Bayek here, who is always the most entertaining in this section. Can he just survive? He does, barely. Once again, completely cast the corner. This time it does work out. And it's all in this turn. Who can get the most exit speed? Will anyone crash? That's quite poor from Mada there. Will drop down all the way to 4th. Because of very low exit speed, Bayek barely survives. Has to readjust. He is down. So right now, this is map point for Jetlag. It's looking like they will get it done. But no, Mada, massive mistake. And it will drop down to a draw. Only Brent, insane rounds time. 107.25. The best we've seen today. And how do you even play against that? All he needed was Mada in 3rd, but Mada just not able to keep it together in pretty much the very last part where you can even make a mistake. So right now, we're 1 draw away from overtime. And we're still looking for an ace or a victory from either side, with J-Swag dropping back a bit, but then both Jetlag players with smaller mistakes. Actually, a lot bigger than what I thought. Looks like they both crashed in addition to slowing down. And this is an amazing position for Mahi. Mada 1 second behind, Brent 0.6 behind. They have to get this done. This is the opportunity they've been waiting for. They cannot let this slide away from them. Brent is coming closer, or is that just J-Swag lagging? It's hard to say. Bayek is in a commanding position. Mada is complete out of this, but Bayek has to respawn. And all of a sudden, this could actually be a victory for Jetlag. Because Brent is contesting 1st, Mada just needs to stay 3rd. J-Swag is losing to Brent here. Brent will survive. And it looks like it will be a map victory for Jetlag. Bayek doesn't die in the reactor up section, but he does in the drift right after. And from an ace to a loss, Mahi are 0-2 down. That was the opportunity to tie things up and go on to what probably would be their best map out of the remaining 3. But he gets the no slide, unfortunately. And that is mentally so hard and mentally so good for Jetlag. Because after that start, if either of them just checked HUD and saw the situation they were in, I mean, you saw how much Brent risked just to come back. There must have been at least one thought going through their heads that it might be over on Reunion. But they're so experienced and so mentally strong that they just swatted the thought away and came back into the round. Brent winning and Mada making sure he doesn't make an additional mistake to close it out. And now we've got Mahi with a slower start on a map that they absolutely have to win. If they lose this, it's all over. They have no choice but to win. And right now, it's Brent who is giving them that chance. Slightly weaker section there. Couldn't really get the exit speed. It's up to Mada, who was insanely strong on this map. The first time we've seen him play here today. And yet again, he is holding that first place. Baywak trying to attack. Mada with a slightly better line, more inside. Will create a little gap. Bren is also in it. If the other three get a slower ice section, Bren can get something done here. However, it's Mada actually with a slower ice section. And Mahi have a real chance of acing here. But who has more speed here? Will it be J-Swag? Yes! By 4,000s. Amazing round. Really close within the top 3. And J-Swag just holding on for dear life there in the end. They get the ace, and that is a great recovery after the disaster that happened on the last round of Reunion. So they actually have a chance here. Let's see if Jetlag can strike back straight away. One of them is already out. Looks like it's Mada, and Mada is not mudding on this map. He's just mudded. It's not looking good this time, unlike the previous match. And this is a great chance for Mahi. Because as long as they don't do anything crazy, it is at least a draw, but they can definitely get more from this round. Because Brent is struggling a bit, he just cannot keep up with the pace here in this particular round. He is trying to catch up to at least one of them. Because if it stays like this, it's gonna be really difficult for Jetlag to come back, but at least he catches up to J-Swag. That is a solid ice slide. Will not be able to catch up to Baywak, who is doing a great job on this map. Can Baywak make the jump? Yes, he can, and this will be a victory at least. Not the quickest this round, but 5-1 is a great position to be in. Not only is the gap the same, it's actually bigger. So Mahi will absolutely take that victory. And as long as one Jetlag player keeps crashing, then I don't see how Mahi loses this. .107 is really good, yes, but the thing is, in the first match, there was always one Jetlag player driving 106. That's the thing. And we now see Baywak get completely wiped out, which is the worst possible thing you can do in this moment. But that's a no slide by Mada. Wheel issue, unfortunately. And J-Swag has to respawn. No, that is the wrong respawn. You cannot respawn like that. He should know this. And that is a huge throw. I mean, Mada is struggling so much, but that is a massive, massive throw by Jetlag. Because J-Swag had a lot of room to work with there. And Mada also jumping very low. He didn't need to do that. But they come back to 4-5. Jetlag extremely lucky to ace with a round like this, because Mada had a full no-slide into the wall and they should not have been able to win that. And yet, here they are. Mahi once again throwing away a strong position. They're still in the lead though. And Jetlag look worse than in the first match today, so Mahi can definitely make it happen still. Can they survive this? Baywak once again, same respawn. J-Swag is struggling and it's all falling apart, unfortunately for them. Brent with a crash, but is it enough? And J-Swag with a respawn. They have completely died. I mean, Jetlag gave them the opportunity, but they just do not want it. So even with a clip there, this should be an ace for Jetlag. They should know this. They're 7 seconds ahead. They can go for the safe finish if they want to. I presume they won't do it, but they have such a big lead that they can jump in a very safe manner. Mada finally with a 106. And now it's 7-5 for Jetlag. 2 rounds completely thrown back to back. Very, very difficult position for Mahi. All of a sudden, after being 5-1 up. Crazy throw. I mean, this is it. It's now or never. It's match point for Jetlag. One more round like that and Jetlag have won the second tournament. And I think they will be very relieved more than anything, given that they've not been playing that well in this final. Let's see the wood turn. This is where Bayek usually loses it. This time at least he survives. He did do it a bit slower, but it's fine. At this point it's mainly about survival. So at least he gets that done with Brent a little bit slower, so he does allow the Mahi duo to overtake him, but then a mistake from Bayek, and it's up to J-Swag to try to defend here. Mada is in the clear already. That's a huge lead. He can't even afford to have a slightly slower ice section, and J-Swag really has to hope that Brem has a slower ice here. Who gets the better exit? That is much better from J-Swag. He has way more speed. Can he just survive the jump and at least keep the hopes alive? Yes, he can. Mada, amazing time. He is back to his usual self with a 0.7 on Ascension. So at least they have a theoretical chance. But what this means now is if Mada drives like that, it's all over. So this round is all about the jet lag players. Just one of them needs to finish in top 2. J-Swag lagging as usual, but Mada, look at this start. Nobody can come even close to him. He survives the wood part, everyone survives as well. But Mada is just so far ahead. Like, how do you beat this? That's a mistake from Baywak, and this might be over. He might need a respawn from both jet lag players to catch up. He's gonna be around 1 second behind, and there is no way to catch up on pace. He might need a slide out at least here. Both of them driving together, coming closer and closer to their second win. J-Swag is closing in, but it doesn't matter. They just gotta survive, which they do, and it's all over. Jetlag win the second official tournament, and they're once again the champions of APAC.